Take your wallet out for a second. Wherever it is, purse, back pocket, bag on the counter, take it out and find your driver's license. Look at the upper right corner of the card. There should be a small gold star, just a star. And here's the thing, if that star isn't there, that license may not get you through airport security anymore. Not a maybe, not a sometimes. As of May of last year, that's a federal enforcement reality. I've watched people hit a wall at the checkpoint over that star, and every single one of them thought they were prepared. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You've been flying for 30, maybe 40 years. You've never had a problem at security. You know how airports work. And you're not wrong. But this isn't the TSA moving the line for sport. This is a federal law that went into full enforcement in May of 2025, and it's intersecting with a couple of other changes from this past year in ways that are specifically catching travelers over 60 off guard. Not because you did anything wrong, because the airport shifted, and most of the coverage was written for someone else. I'm Jess. I flew commercially for 16 years. Long-haul international, transatlantic, domestic, some Asia-Pacific, and I left, which means I can tell you what's actually going on without having to protect anyone. Here's what I started noticing in my last year of flying. The nature of the distress calls at the gate changed. It stopped being, "My bag is too heavy," or "I missed my connection." It became, "I don't understand this screen," or "Nobody told me I needed to do that in advance." That confusion was new. And it was landing hardest on the travelers who had been flying confidently for decades. People who knew exactly how airports worked, right up until the airports stopped working the way they knew. That pattern is a big part of why this channel exists. What we're covering today is specific. The rules and shifts most likely to create a real problem on your next trip. Not theoretical ones, the kind that are actually happening right now. The star on your license. What the new security scanners mean if you have a pacemaker or a replaced joint. What happened to the full-service check-in counter? How to get mobility assistance reserved the right way. And a few things that technically didn't change but are now playing out differently. And people are getting caught because they're working with 3-year-old information. For most of this, I'm going to give you the exact words to say to the right person at the right moment. Because knowing the rule is one thing. Knowing how to activate it is what actually changes your day. Let's start with that star. The Real ID Act went into full federal enforcement at domestic security checkpoints on May 7th of last year. Right now, if your state-issued driver's license doesn't have a Real ID marker, usually a gold star in the upper right corner of the card, TSA will not accept it as valid identification to board a domestic flight. Not at certain airports. Everywhere. A few specific situations to know about. If you stop driving and have been carrying an old or expired license thinking it still works as airport ID, it doesn't. If your license is current but your state was slow to roll out compliant cards, it's possible to have a perfectly valid license that still isn't Real ID compliant. And if you're planning to use your passport instead of a license, that's fully accepted. No star needed. But check the expiration date right now, before you book anything. Discovering an expired passport 2 weeks before departure is a fixable problem that became unfixable by waiting too long. If the license needs updating, the words matter at the DMV. I need a Real ID compliant driver's license. Will this card have the star marking? That second half of the sentence is the important part. Some states still issue a standard license by default unless you specifically ask for the compliant version. Not every clerk will volunteer the distinction. Confirm the star before you leave the counter. And I want to be honest about this one. TSA does have a backup verification process for travelers who show up without compliant ID. It exists, but it takes time. It's not guaranteed to resolve before your flight, and you'll be standing to the side while the line moves around you. Don't plan around it. Get the star or bring the passport. If this is the kind of specific information you want before every trip, subscribe. I put these out regularly, built specifically for travelers over 60. Now let's keep going, because the next one matters if you have a pacemaker, a replaced hip or knee, or any implanted device at all. The TSA has been expanding CT scanner deployment across major domestic checkpoints nationwide. CT stands for computed tomography. These produce a three-dimensional image rather than a flat X-ray, which makes them more sensitive. For most travelers, the difference is minimal. For anyone with metal in the body, the experience at security is changing. And there's a tool that most people have never heard of that makes it significantly better. TSA offers a free resource called the TSA Notification Card. You download it at tsa.gov, fill it out in plain language. I have a total left hip replacement on the left side. I have an implanted cardiac pacemaker. And hand it to the officer before you step through. It doesn't exempt you from screening. What it does is shift the entire dynamic of the interaction. The officer knows what the scanner is going to find before it finds it. You're managing the process from the start, rather than reacting to an alarm going off. Before you step up to the lane, I have an implanted device, and I have a TSA notification card. I'd like to give this to you before I go through. For anyone with a pacemaker specifically, this part is important. The handheld magnetic wand that TSA officers sometimes use in secondary screening should not pass directly over an implanted cardiac device. Pacemaker manufacturers say this explicitly in their product documentation. You have the right to request a manual pat-down instead. And the way you ask changes how it lands. Don't say, "I don't want the wand." Say, "I have an implanted cardiac device. My cardiologist has advised against using the wand over my chest. I'd like a manual pat-down, please." The phrase "my cardiologist has advised" frames it as medical instruction rather than personal preference. Officers are trained to accommodate this. I have to be honest, most do, without any friction. But I have watched the wand get careless at a busy checkpoint. That sentence is there to stop it before it starts, not to fix it after. One more at security, quick. Liquid medications, insulin, and ice packs to keep medication cold are all exempt from the standard 3-ounce liquid rule. That policy hasn't changed. What matters now with CT scanners is that you declare them before the bin goes through the machine. I have medically necessary liquids in this bag. Not after the alarm. That one sentence prevents a secondary screening pull-aside that can cost you 20 minutes. Now, check-in. And this shift starts before you even leave the house. Airlines have been moving hard toward app-based and kiosk check-in for years. And in 2026, the entire lobby infrastructure is built around that assumption. The full-service counter still exists. You have every right to a paper boarding pass. That hasn't changed. But the counter is staffed differently than it was a few years ago. It's not always clearly visible from the entrance, and the line at it is longer than it used to be, because the airline's staffing model didn't plan for many people using it. If you're not using the app, add 45 minutes to your usual arrival time. And when you need help, say specifically, "I need to check in with a full-service agent and print a paper boarding pass. Can you point me to the right counter?" Don't get redirected to a kiosk. You know what you need. Here's something most people don't know is an option. If a family member has the app, most major US carriers allow them to check you in on their device, select your seat, and email the boarding pass as a PDF for you to print at home. You don't need a smartphone. They handle it, you walk out the door with paper in your hand. And honestly, paper doesn't lose signal at the gate. It doesn't go to a lock screen when the agent needs to scan it. It doesn't require you to remember which app you used 6 months ago when you booked. If paper works for you, print it. There's no upgrade happening on the other side of that decision. Those 3 changes all happen before you board. What comes next is the part that catches the people who did everything right and still got tripped up. Because what changed isn't always the rule itself. It's how it's playing out on the ground. The legal right to mobility assistance at airports hasn't changed. The Air Carrier Access Act has required airlines to provide it for decades, and that protection is still in place. What changed is the operational reality underneath it. As more travelers over 60 take to the air, and that is a genuinely good thing. The service is running at higher volume, and most major carriers have moved to managing it through advance reservations rather than walk-up availability. The expectation now is that wheelchair or mobility assistance is requested at booking or at minimum 24 to 48 hours before departure. Walk-up requests at the curb still get handled, but at a busy morning bank at a large hub, you may wait on standby while pre-booked passengers go first. When you call to add it, cover all 3 legs in one request. I need to add a wheelchair assistance request to my reservation. I'll need curbside pickup, assistance through security, and help to the gate. All 3 parts. If you only say, I need a wheelchair, the request gets logged to the piece you named, and the rest of the journey may not be covered. The failure point I see most consistently is the code share. If your ticket is through one airline, but the aircraft is operated by a different carrier, the assistance request you made on the first airline's website may not transfer to the second one's ground operations system. They don't always communicate. Call both carriers separately and say, I'm on a code share. My ticket is through Airline A, but the operating carrier is Airline B. I need to confirm the wheelchair request is in both systems, curbside through to the gate. That call takes 5 minutes. It prevents arriving at a connection airport with nothing waiting and no record of why. One more for travelers who bring their own power wheelchair or scooter. DOT regulations on lithium-ion batteries for mobility devices are being enforced more consistently than they were a few years ago. Airlines can require documentation, specifically the watt-hour rating of the battery, before accepting the device for cargo. If the ramp agent can't verify it on the spot, they can refuse to load the device. Get the technical specification sheet from your manufacturer, print it, and attach a copy directly to the device. At bag check, I have the battery documentation right here. The battery is within the DOT limit. Leading with that changes the tone of the entire interaction. Now this one I want to sit with for a second, because it's a service that became more accessible and still almost nobody uses it. Because almost nobody knows to ask for it. If you're a solo traveler who wants a family member to walk you through security and wait at the gate with you, that is possible. Many major U.S. airlines can issue what's sometimes called a companion gate pass or escort pass, a temporary security clearance for a non-traveling adult who wants to get you through the checkpoint and stay until you board. They go through security screening the same as any passenger. They can sit with you at the gate, help you navigate a last-minute gate change, walk with you if the terminal is long. They just can't board the aircraft. When you walk down the jet bridge, they leave. But the part of the airport that creates the most anxiety for solo travelers, the checkpoint, the terminal, the wait, they're with you for all of it. Request it at the check-in counter before you reach security. I'd like to request a gate pass for my companion to assist me to the gate. She's not traveling today. The agent will ask for a photo ID, run a brief standard check, and issue the pass. I'll be honest with you. This is discretionary, and it can be declined at particularly busy checkpoints or during elevated security periods. It isn't a guaranteed right, but asked calmly, specifically, at the counter, early in the process, it works far more often than not. The people who don't get it are mostly the people who didn't know to ask. If you don't ask, your family member is back in the car before you've even found your gate. 3 final things, and none of these are new rules. They're old information that is quietly costing people right now. Medications. Traveling with a daily pill organizer is legal on domestic flights, and I'm not here to tell you to stop. But on any international leg, loose, unmarked pills are generating more scrutiny at customs with increasing frequency. More importantly, if something happens to you in the air, a prescription bottle with your name, the drug name, the dosage, and the prescribing doctor is information an EMT can use in seconds. A compartment labeled Thursday is not. Keep cardiac medications, blood thinners, and insulin in original prescription bottles in your carry-on. Use the organizer if you need to. Just bring the bottles alongside it. Connection times. The booking algorithm will happily sell you a 35 or 40-minute domestic connection and call it legal and viable. For a traveler who moves at a careful pace, needs a restroom, or is waiting for a wheelchair escort between gates, it often isn't either of those things. 90 minutes minimum for a domestic connection, 2.5 hours for international. Most booking tools let you filter by minimum layover duration. Use it. If you're booking by phone, I need at least 90 minutes at my connection. What options do we have within that? A human agent can see which gates are involved and how far apart they are. The algorithm cannot. And finally, basic economy. I know it looks like a deal. For most travelers over 60 on a flight longer than 2 hours, it isn't. Because basic economy at most major US carriers doesn't allow seat selection until check-in or boarding, which means you get what's left. What's left is usually a middle seat toward the back of the plane, away from the aisle, several rows from the nearest lavatory. On a 4-hour flight with any circulation concern, joint stiffness, or bladder issue, that is not a minor inconvenience. It is a health consideration that shows up in how the next 24 hours feel. Pay for main cabin. Select an aisle seat within the first 20 rows of the aircraft, within a few rows of a lavatory. That is not an upgrade. That is part of the plan. Everything in this video has one thing in common. The airport is not going to tell you. The services exist, the rights exist, the accommodations are there, but nobody's job depends on making sure you know about them before you leave the house. That's the gap. That's why this channel exists. Quick version of everything we covered. Check the upper right corner of your license for the star before your next flight. If you have any implant or medical device, download the TSA notification card from tsa.gov and hand it to the officer before you step through. And if you have a pacemaker, you have the right to ask for a manual pat-down. Book wheelchair assistance at reservation time. Confirm it with both carriers if you're on a code share, and carry battery documentation for any personal mobility device. If you want a family member past security, ask at the check-in counter for a companion gate pass. Keep critical medications in original prescription bottles in your carry-on, 90 minutes minimum on a domestic connection. And skip basic economy. Pay for main cabin and pick the aisle seat. You don't need to do all of this before Thursday. Pick the one that made you stop and think. Write it down. Use it once. That's how this works. 3 specific things to do before your next flight. Tonight, take your license out and look for the star. No star? Before you fly, go to the DMV and say, I need a real ID compliant license. Will this card have the star marking? Second, if you have any implant or device, go to tsa.gov, search TSA notification card, download it, fill it out, and put it in your travel wallet right now. Third, call your airline's accessibility or special assistance line, not the main customer service number, the accessibility line specifically, and say, I need to add a wheelchair assistance request to my reservation, curbside pickup through to the gate. Even if you only need it a little, even if you think you'll probably be fine, book it. One last thing. The last time I flew as a passenger, just a person in a seat, not a crew member, I sat next to a woman named Margaret, who told me she'd almost booked a different itinerary. A longer layover, she said, because her daughter warned her the 50-minute connection was too tight. Her daughter was right. Margaret made it, barely, and she was still catching her breath when she sat down next to me. She had been flying for 40 years. The airport just hadn't kept her updated. That's the gap. That's what this is for. If you know someone with a trip coming up, or a parent flying solo who could use this before their next flight, send them this video. That share might be the thing that turns a hard travel day into an easy one. I'm Jess. Fly safe and fly informed.